To conquer your calendar, you want to add things based on their priority. As a bonus, at the end of this, I'm going to share a simple flow chart that's really effective about marrying the what do I have to do and the time I have to do it and putting those together. A calendar is a great tool to organize your time. So just like we might have shelves to organize our space or the things we own, a calendar is a tool to direct where your time is going. And the best way to organize this is based on your priority. What's most important to you, those should go on the calendar first and should be the most difficult to move on your calendar. The last thing I want to share is, as a calendar is a tool to organize your time, what you do with your time eventually becomes your life. What you do regularly is what you end up becoming in the life you start to live. So at Full Life, when we're thinking about being intentional of how are we going to live practically and intentionally, getting on top of our calendar is a great way to intentionally say, this is how I want to use my time rather than my time being used in different ways. I'm going to divide calendars into two broad categories. We have paper calendars and then we have digital calendars. I've used paper ones and now I'm on digital. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. Paper calendars seem more respectful as you can add to them without people thinking that you're being distracted. Digital calendars have benefits of being able to be shared, more difficult to lose. They can repeat things well, and they're useful for those sharing, collaborating, and repeating and note-taking, and then access on different devices as well. All of those benefits. When adding things to a calendar, there's a spectrum of immovability to movability. So when I'm adding things to the calendar, I want to add the immovable things first. As when I was a student, this looked like my classes, when I worked, club meetings. These are things that you don't have a say of when they can be moved. And then adding the motile things or the events that can be moved. This might be when you're going to work on homework, when you're going to have leisure time, when you're meeting with a friend and you can say, hey, I can't make that time. Does this time work? Those things are more negotiable, hence they go on the calendar later. Best practices that I've learned while using a calendar. The first thing is to use a color code. And I've created a document where I have my specific color code that I use for different events. This is updated regularly. That way I know what these color codes are supposed to be meaning, and if someone else is adding to my calendar, they can reference this calendar color codes. When those things are added to the calendar, they're following the correct color code. Second, digital, as I said before, digital calendars are really great at repeating things or habitual things. For me, this is especially helpful with paying bills or checking on my finances. I may not want to do it every week, but every 2 weeks or at any strange interval. The repeating feature allows those things to be taken care of, and I don't have to remember every week as I'm writing on a paper calendar, oh wait, I forgot this. There's less forgetting because the computer is taking on that load of remembering, and they're way less likely to forget than I am. Additionally, with weird class schedules, when like a class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a class Tuesday, Thursday from specific times, those can be set up at the beginning of a semester, and then they're on your calendar correctly throughout the entire semester to the end date of the semester. So it's really easy to see when you have class, when you don't. And when class information would change, then if class was canceled, I'd delete that class on the calendar, and I knew that class was there and it's been removed, so I don't have class at that time. Another good practice, Google has, to the Google Calendar, Google has a program that's attached to Google Calendar called Google Tasks. This is a great way to overlay the events with the tasks that I have to get done. There are a lot of limitations with Google Tasks, but I found those limitations to be really useful, and embracing them to make the what am I doing more simple, and it's been great to have the tasks and the events in one place rather than having to look at different systems at the same time to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. There's space to add notes, addresses, locations. So these can be really useful, since if you're trying to drive somewhere, you can put the address in the event when someone's telling you about it. When you need to drive there, you can click on that address and get directions through the maps on your phone. Or also, I use the notes a lot for meeting agendas. Those are really helpful because if the event is shared with the person I'm meeting with, then they can look and see the notes that I've added. Additionally, it's a great way for me I can type out on a computer what I'm thinking about, questions I may want to ask when I'm meeting with the person, and then later when I'm with the person, if I even just have my cell phone, those notes are captured in the event, so I can quickly pull those up and make sure I've addressed everything in that meeting that I wanted to get to. It just decreases forgetting of, oh yeah, I needed to remember that. It's already remembered in the calendar when you thought of it last. Finally, I want to talk about this bonus flowchart. I'll throw an image up here on the screen, but it's just a quick flowchart of What are you doing right now? Do this task, add it to your system, and working through. It's a really simple way of, if you're being lazy, to jump back into what are you doing the things that you need to do, and are you doing the things that are most important to you. A final thing I want to talk about is the mindset of using a calendar. It can be really overwhelming when the system gets broken, you fell off the horse, all these things. I like to think of the calendar as a guide for direction, but not concrete. You can change it, and that's the beauty of it. You're not going to forget things, but if something comes up, you are able to reshuffle, and you're more likely to reshuffle in a way that everything does get completed than something else happened. If you're so behind that you feel like you can't catch up, there's a video that I've made addressing that. Finally, thanks for watching Full Life on some practical insights to conquer your calendar and your time. I think it honors God when we steward our time. If you're interested in more practical teaching about living a full life, consider subscribing. If you think this would be helpful, add a like.